I didn't think that at that moment I would have 5 books about plants,
Right.
or I would have this, or have that, or be in this home. No, I didn't know that the individual who was learning to propagate a golden pothos at that moment would be a different person internally because of that knowledge.
Yeah. That little blip in your life is such an important blip that kind of changed the course of you as a person, not only as a career, but also as a person.
As a person. Back like we never left ya. It's Inside Hilton's Head.
Heyo.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Inside Hilton's Head. I am very excited to be sharing this stage, this platform, this moment in time with my co-host, Molly Lee. Molly, it's so great to see you.
Good to see you too. What an intro.
I don't know.
I didn't realize I was on a stage.
I've said this before. You've all heard it. There's a certain energy when it's just the two of us.
That's
in the
true.
room. You know what I mean?
I do agree with that.
There's a certain energy. So I feel it. I feel a bit more excited about these episodes, mainly because I get to do a lot more talking.
Thank you for being honest. Yes, I know that's why you like these episodes, because you get to talk more. Yes.
Where we got off celebrating the release of my latest book, The Propagation Handbook.
Yay.
Oh my God. What? Yes. It's such a, I mean, come on. You know what? I will say, I am still like living in the moment of the first book. When Wild at Home came out, I'm still floating in that air. So having this my fifth book come out.
Fifth already,
yeah. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just so excited for so many people out there to have this book in their hands.
I do have it in my hand right now.
You do.
I do have a lot of questions about it. I will say it's quite different in not just the way, you know, the content itself, but even just the way it looks is very different. The size of it's different from the rest of the books that you've published so far. It's a different size, yep. I also I guess I wanted to kind of start on your book writing journey. Like, how does one start writing a book? How does that work? Like, is it kind of like, I want to write a book, and then you just start writing it, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing, and this is an example of it, what we're doing right now, right?
Yeah.
This podcast, I think I mentioned this in the previous podcast, but this podcast started because I wanted to have, or want to have, and still have the goals of having a podcast with another friend of mine. And we were like discussing the idea of a podcast and how we would do it, and maybe learning to be better interviewers, and how we would go through those steps. And I just realized, for me, to become better at a thing, I always have to do that thing.
Right, actually do it.
Actually put myself in it, experience it, go through all the motions, right? So that's how this podcast was birthed. But then it became a thing that I felt so great having you as a co-host, interviewing people and talking to them about their lives and the things that I have in my head that I want to get out there and discuss with them. And it just felt so right. So the process of writing the book for me was kind of that. It was like, if someone's going to present me with the opportunity to write a book, how would I go about it? So to take you.
So you've always wanted to write a book? No,
I've never had the want to ever write a book.
Yeah.
The closest I would say I've come to wanting some sort of writing on paper with many, many pages bound would be in script format. So writing a script for like a feature film, right? So I've done a lot of
screenplay or something.
A screenplay for films, and that's has always been a passion of mine. Still is. It's just not at the forefront of my brain at this very moment. Right. But when I started sharing content back in 2016. There wasn't a vision of a book. Like that my goal is to have a book. My goal is to have this.
I think that's why I'm extra curious, because it's not like you're, I want to be a writer so bad. Like all I want to do is writing. Like that's my medium.
For sure.
And then making it happen, I kind of feel like it happened in a different way for
you.
you.
It happened as, we want to keywords here. It happened organically in a sense where there was a moment, because I come from an art background, and I was when I was sharing a lot of content, I was thinking of how I could create or showcase some of I guess the plants I had, like this almost like this side project of mine, like showcase some of the plants I had in more of an artsy sort of way. Some of them were shot on like seamless paper, different sorts of lighting, and I was like, if I ever have the opportunity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one of these like self-publishing book sites, apps, and make an art book about plants, just an art book, right? So
more so about the imagery.
More so about the imagery, color, texture of foliage, things of that nature.
Interesting.
That I thought would look really good just together, imagery-wise. Funny thing is, some of those images actually that I started working with ended up in Wild at Home.
Your first book.
My first book. And as I was sharing content, my follower count started to grow. I got a write-up in the Washington Post, which was very beneficial as far as like more eyeballs on what I was doing. And at some point in the, I want to say the early winter of 18, early winter of 18, a publisher reached out to me about writing a book.
Wow.
And I was like, excuse me?
Were they just kind of like, hi, Hilton, I'm Blah from Blah Publishing. Would you like to write a book?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Before that, I had been in 3 other books, featured in other individuals' books. Wonder Plants 2, I think it was Wonder Plants 2. This other Botanica something, I forget the name of it. And then another small publication where my home was featured in these books. So I guess maybe they had also saw my space and they saw
and
my
your
account.
Social media presence.
Social media. Yeah, exactly. So they were like, hey, I mean, business is business. They want someone that's going to have someone's going to possibly sell some books. Right. But they also thought I had a voice that would work in that sort of space. But I had never written a book before. So when they presented the idea, I was like, well, can I write? If you can guarantee,
can I write?
Period. If you allow me to write however many pages, what is this first book? You want it to be 144 pages? Okay. Can 120 of those pages be written as like captions? Because that's all I've been writing is captions on my posts.
Right.
And that's what you're seeing. If you like that, then I can write a lot of that in a book like this.
Definitely.
I was coming out of writing stories, fictional stories about characters. So talking about plants and plant care to me was what I was sharing via social, but they were very short blurbs.
Yeah.
Right. And the idea of writing a book, especially when it comes to like plants, felt very sciencey, scientific, something where it's just like, I think about the idea of it and I'm like, it's very stale.
Felt dry to you.
Very dry. And I'm like, I don't know if that's me. They're like, well, we want you to, we want your voice to be there. And I was like, well, if I can make it my voice and in my voice, then I can do it. Yeah, it's like one of those things that when you first get a project that you've never done before, handed, like delivered, like right into your lap.
And it's a big deal. It's not like
big deal. You know, like I signed this contract, now I got to make this thing. Like, I told myself though the hardest part I knew because the idea of sitting in front of a blank page had already been a part of my life, writing scripts. So I was like, the one thing I don't want to do is sit in front of a blank computer screen trying to figure out how to write a chapter. I knew what I wanted each chapter to be, what it was going to be, and I felt like if I could just talk it out, then I can easily get my ideas out there.
Yeah, I do definitely think that's your mode of creation is like talking it out. And that helps you so much to
It
organize your thoughts and
really
sort it
does.
out.
It was perfect. I mean, that's how I get things to work for me. So at this time, I still had a full-time job.
While you were writing,
While I
at
was
home.
writing while at home, I had literally left one job and moved to another agency. I was working in an ad agency at the time. I had quit one to move over to another. And this other one, this new now job, sometimes like 2 to 3 days out of the week, I would have to drive about an hour from my home. Hour one way, hour back. So 2 hours in the car.
My goodness.
I was all the way in Rockville, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
I would commute there. So I was like, that's a lot of time in the car.
Right.
How can I best utilize that time to work for me? Because other than that, I always promised myself, and I promised, it's a quiet promise. I think that's what it is, right? I promised this to my wife. She doesn't know it as a promise, but I promised myself that for my relationship with my wife, she was my wife at this time, but even before she was my wife, that I would never allow my work to keep me from spending quality time with her. So
I love that priority.
that's got to be I mean, like, none of this would be possible without my wife. So shout out to Fiona for
Shout out Fiona.
giving me the time, the space, the love, the support to do the things that I'm able to do.
Like writing books.
So I decided that, basically what I was saying was I would use a lot of my time. I would wake up early and write. I would hang out with my wife. She's a person that loves to sleep, so she would go to bed and I would write.
Before we get to the actual writing, did you and the publisher come together to be like, this is what it's going to be about?
Yes.
Okay.
They were asking.
So you guys
agreed I was
on something.
Yeah. They wanted me to write what I felt was important to me, and I was like, well, here are certain things: propagation, styling, basic care stuff to get out there as a first book. They told me the size of it. They told me how many pages it would be. So there wasn't a lot that I could really. There wasn't a lot that I could squeeze in there, but I wanted to get a particular point across. So I knew what that would be, and I know they know how many words they are expecting.
Oh.
How many images they're expecting.
Okay.
So when you sign a contract,
give you a little,
they're like,
frame to work
you're
with.
signing a contract to write 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 words,
Jesus.
right? You're going to supply us with 200 images, 500 images, right? So my style of writing isn't open up my computer, look at a blank screen and start writing. It was basically open up my notes app and talking it out. Like, I don't know how to start anything really. Like, I don't know how to start, like, when it comes to writing, I don't know how to start a caption without talking it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're
like,
not like, okay, this is my intro and this is how I'm going to start. Here's my body paragraphs and here's my conclusion.
Yeah, exactly. So I would open my notes app and then I would put it on dictation, and I'm driving to work, and I would just start talking it out. What is propagation? What is my watering process? Start it like that. What is my watering process? What I like to do is I like to figure out the watering can that I'm going to use for a particular type of plant. I then walk over, blah, 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 blah. Just talk it out, talk it out. And then it's putting it all in notes. So I would just talk it out and have all of these sentences and words and weird things all in a notes, like in my notes app. And then I would just grab all of that, bring it into a Word doc, and then finesse it later.
Yeah.
Right? Move things around, think of more things in dictation and put them there. When I had free time, when I was walking my dog, when I was waiting around to get my oil changed, when I was waiting in the line of a grocery store. Whenever I had a moment, I was spending that time like thinking of things to make this book. And what helped in that process, when you're writing in that way, it allows for that real voice, your voice, to come up to the surface. Definitely. And I think like that's what I felt made it easier for me, but also made me appreciate not just people who write books, but also just appreciate the process of writing a book. That it doesn't always, like a book about plants doesn't have to fit whatever the format or structure I thought it was when I first thought of it.
Yeah.
It could be someone who looks like me talking to someone else about how to then possibly care for their plants.
Definitely.
So that was it.
I mean, I think that's so fascinating to know about your writing process and what that looks like for you, because that makes so much sense for me as a reader of not only your newest book, but all your books. Is like your writing voice is exactly your speaking voice. So when I read the books, it just sounds like you reading it to me, because you don't have like a stiff writing voice. It's just the way you would talk to me about plants is the way you write this book about plants.
Yeah, I think, and that's great to hear. I mean, it has been great to hear, because I hear it a lot, and I take that as a pat on the back, because my hope was that any moment where someone was reading that book, they felt like I was right there with them. Like, we're going to repot this plant together. We're going to water this plant together. We're going to figure out these issues together. Or hopefully in a new book, we're going to propagate these plants together.
I mean, and I think that's what it really is, you know, to be frank, a lot of people who love plants can write about propagation, right? But only you can write this book because it's in your voice with your imagery that are so representative of who you are.
For sure. I mean, that's the whole thing about genres of anything, right? Like anyone can, not anyone, but many people sing country music, but only one person can sing the country music that they're singing, right? Or the way they sing it.
Your voice.
There's many individuals who are writing books about plants, but no one's making plant books like Hilton Carter makes plant books, because they don't have my particular voice, my style, my thought process when it comes to care. Like we had one of our good buddies, Daryl Chang, on, and he has plant books out as well. Shout out to Daryl. What's up, bud? And our voices are completely different. I would never put us in the same, it would be weird to see us work next to each other to write a book. The process is probably completely different.
I'd love to see that, where we like give you like one topic, being like, okay, repotting, and then you write about it and he writes about it, and just see how differently.
I'm sure he's written about I know he's written about repotting in his books. Let's put it, next to each other. But I think for him, again, we know this. He's more on the like an engineering brain of it, where it's going to be more, science heavy. Right? Like I want things that are more relatable to the average individual trying to get into plants, because that's me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not someone who spent time learning about plants.
Right. But some people, want to learn in a scientific way, and that is just how their brain operates.
Of course.
And then some people love the beautiful imagery and then like want, someone like a friend to just tell them like how to care for their plant. I think they're.
You think I'm the friend part?
I think you're more of,
Nice.
You have a friendly voice.
But am I friendly in life? Real life?
TBD.
Good answer.
But the books make you seem very friendly.
What? Well, that's good, because
when you're talking about holding someone's hand and like walking them through the process, that's definitely how I feel about this. It's easy to digest. It's not full of like insane plant jargon and botanical terms that people don't know, while still being very informative.
No, I'm not here to bore you.
Yeah.
I'm not here to. This isn't a textbook. You know what I mean? It's just for me. It's easier to digest when you have that. Like your handbook. It's funny to say that, but like I'm holding your hand through some of the process. We then have that connection together, right? Like I feel like that's what excites me. Again, going back to older episodes of this podcast, it's the same thing I talked about when it comes to the Target stuff. It's I want to share what I'm excited about, because I feel like if I'm excited about it, you'll also be excited about it, especially if you're a part of my community. So this new book, like Propagation, is something that I've been wanting to fully push out into the world for a while, and I'm glad that I finally had that opportunity. And to me, it's one of the best things someone who likes plants, loves plants, like very green, just started to get into plants can do when it comes to being involved in the indoor gardening space, because it taught me so much about how to appreciate plants. Propagating.
Yeah.
It was like, so for me, it's just like I always talk about the idea like propagating is the gift that keeps on giving, because you can propagate and that cutting becomes a plant that you then cut from, and then you can then gift that to someone, and then they can grow it, and then they can cut it and gift it. And we all know these stories, plants that are handed down from one, or someone's grandmother has this plant, and every person in that family has a cutting from that one mother plant. That what else can we talk about like that we all can just share a piece of?
A piece of each other.
A piece of each other that can grow and continue to grow in someone else's home.
You hit that so well in your introduction paragraph that I'll just read quickly. They say that when you give a piece of yourself to someone, you're sharing the world. Okay, I've never heard anyone say that verbatim, but I believe those words to be true, because when you're able to gift something that celebrates who you are and the things you care for, that ultimately tells a story of you. You're gifting your world. In the Propagation Handbook, I'm so excited to gift you my world, which is like such a great analogy of like you gifting to the world and like people gifting propagation cuttings and just a piece of yourself. Like this book is a piece of you.
It sounds so bad for me to say this because it's just, but when you said that, when you read that to me, I got chills for a second.
Why?
I don't know, because it hit me. I will say,
wrote it.
I know. That's why I said it's gonna sound weird because I did write that.
Wow, I did so good.
But I will also say it might be the first time anyone's ever read back my words to me.
Oh yeah, that must sound weird.
So that was weird. That was a weird part. But I got chills by because I'm like, I fucking feel that.
Yeah.
I feel all of that because that's. I mean, I'm sure deeper into the intro chapter. I mean, I talk about that initial moment where someone taught me the first initial, I would say, the steps of propagating.
The pathos that you mentioned in the book.
Fucking blew my mind. It blew my mind apart. And knowing that moment is what led to this.
Right.
Where we are right now. So when you're reading that, it kind of hits me in the fucking heart because I'm like, how in that time when that person's sharing that stuff with me, there's no thought of this.
They're not trying to rock your world. They're not trying to get you to be.
They're not. But I didn't even think
they're
about.
Just like, this is what you do.
Exactly.
Cool,
but then I, and it's not even just like the change of the. Not even the change of the material things that I'm talking about. Like I didn't think that at that moment I would have 4 or 5 books about plants,
right?
Or I would have this, or have that, or be in this home. No, I didn't know that the individual who was learning to propagate a golden pothos at that moment would be a different person internally because of that knowledge.
Yeah. That little blip in your life is such an important blip that kind of changed the course of you as a person, not only as a career, but also as a person.
As a person.
And your relationship to other humans.
And my relationship to other humans. And that's the thing that I hit in that book and the reason why I had to make the book. And that's why I feel like it is so important for me to share this. Like I said, I feel like I'm gifting a part of me to others. When you said that part, I think that's the part that hit me. Is like, because someone gifted that shit to me. I know I'm cursing. I'm
Even
sorry
like
if I'm
unintentionally gifting it to you, really.
Like, they never knew that they were sharing their world with me, but they did.
Yeah.
In that small little piece of their world became my world.
Yeah. I mean, that's so how I feel about, I mean, not, I love plants, but like, I really love food. And like, when I go over to someone's house and they cook me a meal that, you know, is something they grew up with, and I can just see, not just from the taste of the food, but just the way they're preparing it with such care, the way they're cooking it, the way they're serving it, how they choose to, like, all of that moment is so, it resonates so deeply with me that I feel like I like they're really gifting me something that's so much more than a plate of food.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think those things, like the best part I would say about all of it is that, especially when you're talking about there, is it's all of the care that goes into not just the moment where you put the first bite, spoon, forkful into your mouth. It's every little thought out part of the setting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's the process.
it's the process.
I know.
And that to me is just like, and that's the change, right? And I talk about this, and I think that's one of the motifs in all of my books, is that I try to at least convey a bit of this in each one, is that process is one of the most transformative parts for me. That's what changed who I am.
I mean, this whole book is about processes too, all the different ways to achieve propagation.
Yes. And I think those are the things that I would hope, I mean, obviously, that people do and they're successful at, but a lot of knowledge is learned in failure, right? But the book, it was written to help you not fail as much.
Yeah.
You know?
Increase that success rate.
Exactly. I mean, I failed for you.
I failed for you too. And I did not write a book about it afterwards, but I'm just failing over here for you. Don't you worry.
But yeah, so I am definitely, I'm very proud of this book.
Yeah, as you should.
I know I'm working on like another book now, but if this was it for me, Propagation Handbook, I would be so fine with that, comfortable with that, because
this is where it all started.
Yeah, it's the perfect book into having Wild at Home be my firstborn, and then having this be like that end cap of just like, this is the thing. Like, I feel like, I'm just gonna go back to what you just read in that intro. It's just like here it is. Like, this isn't just because I'm speaking from my own truth. This isn't just how you propagate houseplants.
Right.
This is how you propagate happiness. This is how you propagate to share.
Yeah.
It's how you propagate kindness. This is how you propagate calmness, quiet moments for yourself. Maybe this is how you propagate a new business for yourself.
Yeah. I definitely see that it's not just, and again, I think that's what I love about your books, is that it's never just factual and informational. It's that, but it's also so much about just a sentiment that is associated with that. It's not just do this, do that. It means so much more. And I really sense that in this book, because I know how much propagation means to you. And I know how, you know, you are where you are now from where you started. It really started with propagation and your wall full of propagations and learning how to propagate, just these little moments that all relate back to this topic that you finally wrote a book about. So I read it cover to cover, and I, to be frank, usually don't with books of this much beautiful imagery. I'm just kind of captivated by the imagery and skip over a lot of the words. But honestly, this one, it really reads like a book too. And as someone who has experience with propagation, I managed to learn a lot of new things through it too. But obviously have to mention the beautiful imagery.
You don't have to lie. You didn't learn anything, probably.
I did.
That's
Air
great.
layering, I'm very unfamiliar with.
You've never done air layering before?
I've never tried.
Air layering, I think, and now we're just jumping into another weird space when it comes to like propagating because it's just not something that most of us ever really do. But
yeah, that's some expert level shit that I'm not ready for.
But maybe people are ready for that sort of wave in their plant journey. A lot of people do it with like fruit trees and things of that nature.
But yeah, I mean, to tell everyone, you know, propagation is taking a part of a existing plant to create another plant. Air layering is one of the many methods in which you can propagate a plant. Probably the most difficult, in my opinion, to do, or it just feels like you're stabbing a plant and then covering its wound in a bandage made of sphagnum moss and then hoping that it'll like grow roots from there. I pretty much cover that, right? That's what it is.
I mean, across the board. I mean, we can just say in the book in general, the whole thing is cutting a plant and then hoping that it roots, right? Yeah. I mean,
this book is about hope.
The book is really about propagation. Is all about hope, right? Like we're hoping,
lot of praying, and
yeah. But I mean, but that's the thing. There's one thing when you can go to a plant shop and buy a plant. Mm-hmm. You have the plant, you water it.
Yeah,
you start
there's
to watch
definitely
it.
The thrill of that too. Of like, this is my plant.
Yeah, you watch it grow.
Yep.
Then you're doing some things that maybe make it grow a little bit more, or you start to see some issues and you got to fix those things.
Yeah.
It's another thing to take a cutting from said plant, then watch development of roots.
Yeah. You're literally growing it yourself.
You are growing it yourself. Mm-hmm. That is a different bond.
For sure.
That's an entirely different bond. And that was the thing that I wanted people to grab onto. I know some people many of us, when we're talking about plants, have either started in having plants because someone gave you a cutting of a plant, or because you love plants so much, you are propagating. But what I'm hoping that people feel, lean more towards, not just the light, but lean more towards the process of it.
Yeah.
Because when you are dealing with that cutting and those roots, now you have your roots, you've done that thing. The plant that you bought from the store already had roots.
Right.
Now you have roots. That plant from the store already has that plant's roots wrapped in a soil medium.
Right.
Or some sort of medium. Now you have to figure out that process for yourself
yeah.
for your plant.
In your environment.
In your environment. You're making those decisions. You're so now closely related to that particular plant. Like you're making these decisions for yourself. You're mixing that soil medium together for that plant. Now you are deciding the pot that you want to put in. And that to me is like, that's when you are now tapping into a whole nother level of nurturing.
Definitely.
Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.
And that is, for me, where that switch hit.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying is like, I mean, the book is about hope. It is about nurturing. And for me, it's also about like the resilience of plants.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at all the ways that you're literally cutting and taking a part of a plant. And then not only does the part you cut off survive, the part you cut it off of also does fine. Like, that's so crazy.
The other part's like, you will not kill me.
Yeah, exactly. Good try.
Good try. I got more coming from that.
What are you gonna do about
it? Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of plants, right? They're very resilient. That's the beauty of many living things. We can all be very resilient, but we need proper everything, right? Proper light, proper moisture, environment to then do so. Proper love to do so, right? So I feel like there's plenty of great care process tips in the book. There's a lot of that.
There is. It's very informational too.
But the thing that I hope voice-wise that comes across is how meaningful I think propagating can be, not just for the adding of the quantity of your collection, but that connection with others, that connection with plants, that understanding of care.
Yeah.
Right? The care that you provide, the care that I learned to provide a plant, I was able to understand that could go beyond just the plant and be then handed down or given to my dog.
Yeah.
When I had a dog. Or could be given to my wife. Could be given to my mom, my friends. Anything that lives that I can also see. I can see their brown edges. I can see their
they're thirsty.
They're thirsty, yes. I can see when they needed to be tended to, right?
Yeah.
You have a little cutting, you start talking to that. When you take a cutting, develop roots, put it in a pot, watch it grow, I promise you that plant's getting a name. You know what I mean? Like you're now on it with this plant. You're trying to make sure
kind of bond.
It's a different kind of bond. And you learn that in that like that's when you're like, now you're in. You're fully in and you really care. So I want that to be while hope is always going to be there, because you never know. Like, I'm going to tell you how to do it. It might not work for you.
Right.
Right. But there's ways of saying, hey, propagation isn't you cut it, put the node in water, you're going to see roots grow. That might not happen.
Definitely.
But set yourself up for success.
Definitely.
Make sure you allow, when you take that cutting, make sure you have extra nodes.
Yeah. And enjoy every step of the propagation process.
Every step of the process. And again, like we talk about process, while I'm writing and talking about that in the book, I'm thinking about that for my life.
Yeah. Definitely.
Enjoy every part of the process of all of it.
Yeah. The good and the bad.
And the good and the bad. Everything's fleeting. Everything is here for this very moment. And I talked a lot about this in my last book tour. I went from city to city and I talked about this. And I got very emotional about it because Holland was very new still.
Yeah.
Right. So I was just very emotional leaving my daughter during this book tour. And I was just talking about just like moments. Maybe I had this conversation when you were at Little Leaf. But when I came there, I think I had the same thing. It was just like, and when I said it there, I didn't know that would be my last time having a talk at Little Leaf.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know either.
But yeah, I mean, like, things are like in the moment, appreciate it in the moment, being the present, process. Like, this is like this process of going through having a podcast. Like, I'm not taking any of this for granted. I love it. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. Whether it's, it's difficult to try to do all this and do the other things that we're doing, but I never sit and go, oh, all of this amazing stuff I gotta do. I go, man, I am so privileged and fortunate to be stressed about working on a new book.
Definitely. Doing what you love.
Yeah. I get to work on a new book. I'm so stressed about this, but I'm working on a new book where I get to capture images. I get to write some words, and people get to read those words.
Yeah, and you get to talk about it.
And people pay me to do it. Well, you know what I mean? Like no one pays me to write a caption. Well, I guess they do if you're getting branded content, but you don't. You know what I'm saying? Like these are things that like sharing this, like the idea of being able to share something that I feel so passionate about with someone else, and they get to read it, and hopefully it changes them like it changed me. Like that to me is all I need. Like that's what I start my, like at the top of my list. If at the end of the day, if one person receives the moment that I received when I first took that cutting of that pothos and saw those roots develop, if someone else gets that and they move forward with whatever that energy is, they're going to be golden.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I want to just talk about your acknowledgments and thank you page at the end of your
Is that
book.
what you want to talk about? All right.
Because you talk about you thank a lot of people, including obviously your wife and
Always.
your daughter.
Always.
And then you also talk about your mother, who you are kind of a propagated cutting of your mother. Which is a weird way to think about it, but it's true. She's literally mother plant.
She's the mother plant.
And you're the propagated plant.
I'm a cutting from my mom.
You also talk about, is your mother's hands in this book?
She is. Yes, her hands are in the book. Many individuals who are a part of my life, hands are in the book.
I think that's another level of sweetness and so you in this book.
They had a hand in making me who I am today, and I feel like that's a great thing. I mean, shout out to Jasmine Davis. Her hands are on the cover of the book.
Oh wow,
she's Jasmine. The one holding the bouquet
great
of
hands.
cuttings.
Good fingernails. Great
hands, great fingernails.
Yeah.
One thing that's like a behind the scenes sort of thing.
Yeah, tell us.
And this is only because of Fiona's like weird way of looking at things, that her pinky finger is literally her ring finger doubled. Because when Jasmine was holding it, the stems were so thick that she couldn't get her pinky finger around it. So her pinky finger was tucked behind. And Fiona kept saying, it looks like she only has 4 fingers.
Oh my goodness.
She's like, I know there's a pinky behind there, but it just feels like she only has 4 fingers.
Oh my, I totally see it now.
So I just made it.
It's the same finger, just smaller.
So I just made it smaller, did my little Photoshop thing, and now she has 2 ring fingers.
Does she know that?
She doesn't. Unless she listens to this podcast, she'll learn today.
Now you know.
She won't know, but that's a little secret when it comes to.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I think having additional hands in there, like for me, like I want the books to be representative of all of the hands of people who could possibly be taking cuttings from plants, right? And working in the process. We are a community of people. We're all different shades. We're all different drynesses of hands and finger sizes. And some of us have 2 ring fingers. Some of us have a pinky.
One smaller than the other.
One smaller than the other. But yeah, I felt like acknowledging the fact that my mom played a role as a hand model.
I love that she got to be a part of this book. Like, that's just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time, I guess, she's been in one of the books. This is the first, the weird part of this, all of this is, not weird part of all of this, is the first time Fiona is not in a book.
Ooh, Fiona.
Fiona is not in the book.
He's but I will tell you something without telling you something.
No, I don't know if we brought this up in the Fiona
Does she know?
episode. Hear me out.
Okay.
I don't know if we talked about this in the Fiona episode because I can't recall. But I know my wife loves me.
Good.
I know this. You read the acknowledgments. If we pull out every single one of my books, I start by thanking her and I write some things about her because, again, like I said earlier, she is the reason why I can do the things that I'm doing.
Oh, yeah. She had the best thank you in your acknowledgments.
Reason why.
As she
You want to go for it? You want to read it?
Yeah. I want to start by thanking my incredible wife, Fiona, because there is no me without her. Fiona, every part of me is made stronger because of you. Watching you care and nurture our little propagation, our daughter, melts me daily. I'm more motivated, passionate, and loving because of you. Thank you.
Oof, to the heart.
That was really sweet.
I've had 5 books. I had to write something like that every single time because
it's a fact.
It's a fact. She was in the first 4. She's not in this book because we're talking mainly propagation. And a lot of the work that I was on, like I said, like I try to do my work when she's not around so that when she is around, I'm spending that time with her.
So you think she has ugly hands?
No, my wife has beautiful hands.
I'm
very, very petite hands, right? They're teeny tiny like Thumbelina.
That's so cute.
But
teeny hands deserve representation in this book.
that's true. But let me diss on my wife real quick. I say all these wonderful things about my wife. I'm going to look directly into the camera for this one. I say all these wonderful things about my wife and have said wonderful things about my wife. I've captured beautiful images of her, which are fairly easy to do. My wife is beautiful.
Exactly.
We've been together for 8 years. I've written 5 books that are in our house.
Mm-hmm.
I've had friends, people I know who've written books. I've seen my wife hold those books, read those books.
Mm-hmm.
My wife hasn't read one book of mine.
Are you
Not
kidding?
one.
Are you sure? She said that? She admitted?
Positive. She's like, I know because she has no idea of acknowledgments.
Wait, define read the book. Like, has she skimmed through the pages?
She's looked at images like you said, but she hasn't read the words. And Wild Creations, there's a whole chapter called The Anatomy of a Diamond.
Yeah.
Where I talk a lot about my wife.
Yes.
In my relationship. She has no idea that's even a chapter.
Still?
No, she's not reading these books. Why she's not reading them?
Why?
I don't know.
It's because she lives with you and she.
There it is. That's what she would say. I do know. What she says is, and every time I bring it up, she says, I live them.
Yeah.
I don't need to read them.
I get it.
But I know, but as far as like the words I say about my wife, there's 2 types of people or 2 types of things that can happen. You can say things and you can do things.
I like both.
I tell my, as you should.
I need both.
I tell my wife I love her and I show her that I love her. So I don't need her to.
And you write that you love her.
And I do, because I want that to be as known as the stuff that I'm putting in the books. Because again, like there's no introduction without the support system.
Definitely.
Right. I think, and I will say, like, that's been the part of it that has made it so easy. Even this part of turning my side hustle into my full-time job. That would not have happened if Fiona wasn't there.
Yeah.
She's the person in this relationship that has what people call a real job. If I decided to not do this, then not have a job and just be a stay-at-home dad, I could still do that. Because she has a job that pays her well enough that we could live off of just her income. I'm fortunate to have that. When I was making the decision to leave my job, like taking that leap of faith, I was taking that leap of faith with a fucking safety net underneath of me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, she was your support in so many ways, not just financial, but emotionally.
Exactly. She's like, again, it's that I talked about the pyramid, top of the pyramid, the top of the iceberg. You only see the tip. Talk about that old Drake line. You weren't with me when I was shooting in the gym. She was in the gym. This person is a person who is a dentist. She has her own thing, own practice. When I first started selling products, cradles, and I would do these like pop-ups at like West Elm, or she would go with me to these places, carry boxes of cradles, help me fill up the test tubes, put on the thing. She's selling the cradles. She went to, I did this event at the Civic Center here, or not the Civic Center, the Convention Center here for, I forget, like this American Craft Council. And it was so stressful for me to do this. I had to bring all these plants, do this whole setup. Right. She's riding with me in the U-Haul. We're driving out to the county to pick up extra plants, paint. She's with me at the convention center until 11 p.m., 12 p.m. She has to be at work the next morning.
My goodness.
She's someone who
loves her sleep.
But she's right there with me every single moment.
She's ride or die.
Of course. I mean, that's the only way you get to this level, this point in your relationship, right? So for me, like, while I give her shit for not reading the books, she could not read any of the books ever.
Yeah, she showed up.
Because I know that what matters to her isn't what I'm putting in those books. It's the individual who has made those books.
Definitely.
Whatever that individual is, I want to make sure that he's right.
Right.
He's in the right state of mind. He's in the right state of heart. He's in the right state of body to be the individual that I want in my world. So I'm going to continue, just like I talk about in the process of learning how to care for plants and then nurture others. She already had that knowledge for herself. I don't know where she learned it, but she then cares and nurtures for me. Right. So the ability to work on a project like a book, it's so lonely. It's a lonely sort of art form. Not like painting is lonely too, because you're by yourself and you're working on this thing. But writing a book feels lonelier.
I agree with you. I don't know why. Something about like pages, words on a page.
Yeah.
I just imagine someone in like a English countryside cottage, like, you know what I mean? Like with a typewriter, or like a quill pen, and just like in their own like sullenness, just writing.
A lot of the writing that I do for the last 3 books, a lot of the writing part, when I'm talking about when I'm talking into my phone, I'm doing that in like 3 a.m. in the morning, in the dark, laying on the couch.
That's so lonely.
It's very lonely. Like, and just speaking into my phone.
Turn on the light.
I don't want to turn on the lights. I like it. It feels relaxing and comfortable to me, but it's lonely. But there's that person that is there when you come up from the darkness, right? To, pat you on the back, hug you, tell you you're great, tell you whatever you're doing, whatever you did before I woke up, keep doing it. You're great at it. You're doing your thing, right? And you need that support. So if someone's trying to write a book, like it's a difficult process. It's easier when you have a support teams, people who are really supporting you. So if you know someone writing a book, who's in that process of writing a book, or someone who's working on their passion, like who's really driving towards their passion, and they're putting everything in it. Check in on them, show them that love.
But also, don't be offended if they don't write you. They might be in their lonely space.
You might be in their lonely space, and don't write acknowledgments hoping that the individual that you're writing it for is going to read it one day.
I read it. My name's in there. Thank you.
I didn't know that. I was hoping I hadn't gotten rid of you at this point. So good thing.
You had a lot of faith in us. Thank you.
No, I mean, like, all of it is like at the time. So, at the time you're there for this new book. You're here. Like, even if you're in because you weren't here for acknowledgments with the other books, it doesn't mean that your hand in helping me become who I am now wasn't there, because you were a big part of my relationship and connection to Little Leaf and the plant world of DC. So all of the kindness and care that you gave to me during those times were necessary, were needed, right? So
it's all about connection and community.
Exactly.
And I think, again, that just plays so well into the Propagation Handbook, and how that can be your connection to the community is by sharing your plants and therefore your world.
I love it. And I love the fact that, I've written 5 books. I'm not going to get too deep. I'm not even going to talk about it long at all. I just, it almost got me.
What?
they'll be here. They'll always be here. Always be a book that someone can go and read. I don't have to talk about my daughter. It kind of gets to me, but you know what I'm saying? Like that idea that this person can always look back at this book. The one thing about
it's a part of your legacy
it's a
for
part
sure,
of
which
my
sounds
legacy.
super grand, but it doesn't have to be. Everyone leaves a legacy, and this is one of yours.
I think the one thing I've enjoyed so far about I've written 5 books. The one thing I've enjoyed the most, I want to say it the most. It's not the most, but it's one of the things that always hits me in the heart. Holland knows that her pillow, this stuffy, I guess now, so fox head is her pillow. It's in the book. It's in Living Wild because I showed her room in there, and she always wants to open that book and show Foxy. She's like, "Foxy's in here. I'll see Foxy." And she goes to it. She points, "There's Foxy." I'm like, "Yeah, Foxy's
God.
in the book." And then we go to the page where she's at, and she goes, "Well, who's that?" And she goes, "Baby."
Oh,
Like, that's you as a baby. She goes, "Yeah." So
Baby and Foxy both in the book.
both in the book.
Forever. Super
And
neat.
that at the end of the day is why I spend the time and I do what I do and I love it. So if you love propagating and you or know someone who loves propagating,
or if you don't know anything about
if you don't know
propagating,
anything about, that's the whole thing. If you don't know anything about propagating, get the book. It's out now. Wherever books are sold, I'm selling
at Hilton Carter
signed copies at Hilton's daughter. Hilton Carter. I'm still thinking about my daughter. HiltonCarter.com.
Thank you. Signed copies there.
Signed copies there. So. Or come see me if I'm in a city near you. I'm on tour right now. If I'm in a city near you, come see me. That's the thing that I love the most is community.
Definitely.
Meeting the people who are a part of it.
It's the best part.
It's the very best part. There's so many stories to learn. Like I didn't even know that. I learned on the road that a lady was figuring out if her plants needed water by knocking on the side of the pots.
Like a watermelon or something?
Yes.
What?
Yes. That's the thing you can't write in a book. You can't say in this book, the best way to water your plants is to knock on the side of the pot and listen to that sound, right?
What am I listening for? The plant being like, I'm thirsty. Please.
No, you're listening to a more of a thud,
hollow sound
or
versus...
more of exactly. But that's a level of that's a deep, I've been in this game for a minute type knowledge. That I love that when I hear stories like that. I'm like, you've been in it for a while. I'm like that. My mom's over here feeling the cantaloupe.
Yeah, exactly.
Smelling it.
You look at the
this
stem.
one's right. Yeah, this one's right. You're knocking on the side of your pot like you've been in this game, and that's so cool. And those are the things. If I'm in my house just working on my plants, by myself or just with my friends who are of my age group, those are the things you learn.
Yeah.
You got to go out and meet the real community. You got to meet the master gardeners out there.
Exactly.
Who are dropping real knowledge on you. They'll also hit you here and there with the ice cubes on the orchids.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
You know what I'm saying? They'll talk to you about.
What works for them works for them. They've been doing this decades. I'm not touching
If you're doing your thing, do your thing. I'm not here to. I don't want the smoke. I told you already. But that's why I want to go back on tour. So. If I'm in a city near you, please come see me. Propagation Handbook out now.
Woo!
So,
thanks, Hilton.
Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Molly, for helping me walk people through what is in this book. So, if you haven't followed or like the podcast,
press the button, do the thing.
As she says all the time, press the button, do the thing. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.